The student loan debt crisis, that of course has been going on for well over a decade at this point, at least in terms of coverage of the student loan debt crisis, but it has not gotten any better. We got a little bit of student loan debt relief from the Biden administration, which was good, but definitely did not go as far as needed. And part of the reason for that, of course, is because Republicans in Congress challenged it. They had lawsuits challenging it. So even the small amount Biden did, a lot of it was not able to stand. But don't worry, because Donald Trump and his administration have a plan to tackle the student loan debt crisis, but not to make it better. No. See, their plan is actually going to make the crisis exponentially worse by selling off the government's student loan debt, the debt, issued by the federal government for the federally subsidized student loans, selling it to private investors. So that debt, that student loan payment that you make every month, that of course goes to the US government, instead would go to a series of private investors who will basically be completely unregulated and can do whatever the hell they want to you with regard to those debts that you owe. The American public owes a collective $1.6 trillion in student loan debt spread out among 45 million people. So more than 10% of our population owes $1.6 trillion in these student loan debts. And according to a report from The Guardian, senior officials at the Education and Treasury departments have been engaged in internal conversations about offloading select high-performing segments of the government's student loan debt holdings. So it wouldn't be all of them, just some of them, just the higher performing ones, which, means the ones with the highest interest rates, which of course are the most burdensome. And if this plan becomes a reality, and as we've seen with this administration, if they talk about it, it does. So I believe this is firmly an inevitability. What this means is that the government would basically no longer hold the debt. The debt would go to private investors, hedge funds, Wall Street, whoever it is. At that point, because they purchase that debt, they're free to do whatever the hell they want to you. They can increase your monthly payments. They can increase your interest rates. And if you miss a single payment instead of the government, you miss a payment, they're like, okay, well, this month then you owe double, you have to pay twice, whatever it is, they can say, hey, we're going to seize your assets. You forgot to make your payment this month. We're not going to allow you to have a forbearance or deferment. We're going to take your car. We're going to take your house. We're going to destroy your credit. We are basically going to ruin your life because you missed this $250 payment, folks. They will have the ability to do that. Now, the interest rate part, depending on what you signed when you took out the loan, there's not a ton they can do there. But if this plan is successful for the administration, they will then just have these lenders, these investors be the ones doing the lending to begin with. And at that point, then you're looking at insanely higher interest rates than what you already pay. This is going to destroy people's lives. Like, without a doubt, this is going to destroy people's lives. They are going to lose their assets, right? Like, if you're not paying your student loan right now because you can't, the government's not going to come and seize your assets. It's not necessarily going to make as big of an impact on your credit report. But if it's held by private investors, those things are absolutely going to happen. And they will happen immediately. And in fact, I think the only reason the administration is even considering it is because they want those things to happen. Or at least the investors that'll buy your debt do. I mean, after all, a lot of the federal student loans do not necessarily have a very high interest rate. So the return on investment for these investors would not be high. It would not be worth the risk. The only way it becomes worth the risk is if these investors know, okay, listen, we bought a lot of debts for people who aren't paying them, but now they owe us the money. And if they don't pay because we're a private entity, then we can start seizing assets. And those are worth so much more than that student loan interest could ever yield us. Makes a little more sense when you look at it that way, right? Like, sure, they may be getting 4 or 5% off your student loan payment, but imagine how much they could get if they repossessed your $400,000 house, right? That's a good investment for them. And I guarantee you, that's why they're doing it, and that's what they're planning on doing.